Hello, and welcome to On Point. I'm Monica Campos. The United States is one of 3 countries in the world that doesn't guarantee paid maternity leave. It's also one of 2 countries in the Western Hemisphere that doesn't offer a paid leave for either parent. The attitude many employers take regarding paid leave is that parents are just taking a long vacation. But parental leave is more complicated than wanting to celebrate. Parents, primarily mothers, need time to recover from the most intense change they will be undergoing, not only physically, but emotionally as well.
My experience with my 16 weeks on maternity leave, I would say, was really good. I had the chance to bond with my daughter. I also took ownership in breastfeeding her for the 16 weeks. In regards to if I would like to have more than 16 weeks or was I satisfied with it, of course, as a mother, I would love to have more than 16 weeks, specifically because I was breastfeeding her. Going back to work and having to have lactation breaks and then putting away my milk and freezing it at work was a little more difficult. My employer did work with me in providing me the time I needed, but of course, in order to breastfeed and to continue to produce milk, you have to also latch on the baby. You can't just go ahead and continue pumping milk.
1 in every 10 women suffer from postpartum depression in the U.S. This means they need time to recover for themselves and their newborn. It's essential for their well-being and their family's health, and it's also better for their children. Most countries use a Social Security type system that funds the paid time off. Employers also pay for that part of their employee's salary. Los Angeles, however, is on track to grant their parents 18 weeks partially paid leave, which would put LA ahead of the whole country. On Point's Zyra Garcia has more on the story.
Thank you, Monica. Today, I'd like to start off by introducing our guests. We have Dr. Daniel Degravel, Professor of Consulting, Strategy, and Management. And we have Dr. Sigalit Ronen, Professor of Organizational Behavior and Human Resources Management. And I'd like to thank you both for being here today.
Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you.
So I'd like to start off by talking about the United States is one of the very few countries in the whole world that does not have paid parental leave. What are some of the laws that the U.S. does have currently on paid parental leave or maternity leave?
So I can try to answer this one, even if I'm not an expert in the area. But I would say very simply that there is a federal law which is called the FMLA that was from 1993, which enables people to have a parental leave, but it is not paid. Right? But California has another layer of laws that enables people to take these leaves, and they are paid through a system through the SDI, the disability system, which pays between 60% and 70% on for a duration of 12 weeks or so. But there are different level of application. The FMLA, I think, is around the federal law for 50 employees and more, and the Californian laws, there are 2, with acronyms that I don't want to say, but the principle is they apply to 20 to 49 employees, and so it's a little complicated, but there is some form in California of laws that are in advance in regards to the entire United States. So we are trying to do more, even if it's not 100% of pay.
Okay. So in what ways is parental leave good for families? Now, I know, Dr. Sigalit, you are a mother, and Dr. Daniel Degravel, you are a father as well. So in what ways is parental leave good for families? If Dr. Sigalit, you'd like to go ahead and let us know.
So, the time when you're having a child is an event that introduces a lot of change in people's life. And change naturally brings a lot of stress, and people need to adjust to new situations. Therefore, when they have maternity leave, especially paid maternity leave, when they have this opportunity, they can take good care of their kids and take care of their well-being while they transition from having no kids to having kids, or maybe to adding family members. So this is crucial for for people's ability to adjust to this new situation, for their well-being, for their ability to go back to work with energy and motivation. And I feel that this motion is very, very important, not just for families, but also for organizations. And we really have to think long-term, not just short-term. So this is a type of an investment that comes from the organization, but I see that as an investment that is fully returned by employees' motivation, satisfaction, and performance. And there's a lot of evidence that indicates that employees are, when they go back to work after having a paid maternity leave, they're more committed to the organization, they're more satisfied, they engage more frequently with the organizational citizenship behavior engagement. So overall, I think that that's a very positive change that is being suggested.
Okay, and Professor Degravel, what would you have to say on this topic?
Well, I agree with Sigalit about this. I think I really believe in motivation, job satisfaction. The fact that an employee feels well in a company, because that will help this employee to be much more productive, and the organization is at the end it's a win-win game for the organization and for the employee. I think. At the level of the employee and the family of the employee, it helps really to create bonds for the parents, maybe to recover, because one can help the other one, and all families know how hard it is when you have a kid, you have to take care of the baby, you have to, you don't sleep well for several months, and that is sleep deprivation is really an issue. So that helps the family to go through this period of generally a couple of months, and after it really helps the family to bond and to make the parents bonding, recovering from this difficult period, but also bonding with the rest of the family, with the new kid or with the other ones. So I think there is no doubt that this is good, even if there are arguments against it that we may touch on after. But from an HR point of view, from a human resources point of view, I don't think there is any doubt that it is good for the family. I don't know if you have a question about this later, but if we look at the sociological point of view, it is not just a family. It's if we have strong families, that helps the social fabric of a society, and then it helps decreasing criminality and all the negative things that exist in a society that are bad for the society. So there is probably here a long-term effect that is probably hard to measure and capture. But but that probably exists as well.
And Dr. Ronen, so with your pregnancy, what are some of the effects that you may have experienced, or you think women experience postpartum, that can prevent them from going back to work? Why is it so important that women do take this time off?
So this is a necessity for the majority of women worldwide. After you give birth, your body needs to recover. So naturally, you have to take the time to take care of yourself and take care of the baby. And I mean, this is also relevant for families that adopt kids, and I mean, it's not just and not just women necessarily. Sometimes the fathers take care of their kids during this period. And I can tell you from my experience that I gave birth 9 years ago to my child in Canada. And both me and my husband enjoyed this paternity leave. And during that time, and in Canada, the range of the period of paternity leave is about between 35 to 52 weeks. So we could really invest time in helping our kids develop well, in ourselves, and we didn't have to worry very much about making ends meet. So, I mean, we worked, obviously, but we really could take a long period of time just concentrating on, you know, on the family. So I totally see the necessity. I totally think that that's a great thing even for the economy in general. Because we know that having a healthy family, as Dr. Degravel suggests, that's one of the foundations of a healthy society. And we do want to encourage that. The birth rate is dropping everywhere in the world, including the US. And here, like in 2017, the birth rate was the lowest, like in the past 100 years. It went even down, like below the birth rate during the Great Depression. So something is going on in the society. The population is getting older. And then we need to think about the future. So if that doesn't change, if we do not encourage families to bring more kids and have bigger families, then we are going to find ourselves in a situation where we cannot take care of the older population, and there aren't going to be enough people to occupy the workforce. So there are many other good reasons why we should have these policies in place.
And Dr. Degravel, if you can tell us your experience with fathering a child.
Yes. So I have a stepson who is 22, so he was there before I arrived in the picture. But I have a daughter who is 17, and when she was born, I benefited from a parental leave in a company in France where I was at that time. And I remember it was 4 or 5 weeks. It was not as long as what they have in Canada. But I remember it was really a relief because I remember the deprivation of sleep and they feeding the baby at 3 a.m. in the morning. And that I remember it was so hard. My wife was doing before and after the midnight and the 6 a.m. But it was really hard. So that time we had enabled me to recover, to be able to, help her also, be with her and help take care of the baby. So it was really something that, I remember it, like vividly because it was something that was really important. And it was not very long, though. It was 4 or 5 weeks, and what we are talking about here is much more than that. But it was a very positive experience. So I would,
and
from a human
there's
point of view, I think
right.
there's no discussion that it's a good thing.
Yeah, and there's support from research that shows that some studies from Canada shows that longer paternity leave or maternity leave are associated with an increase in developmental factors among kids. So kids between the ages of 0 to 5 years old, they are better adjusted to their environment. They develop, their development is better than kids that did not enjoy that with their parents. So it is quite known that the benefits of such a ruling can be quite significant for every member of the family, and that's really important.
Okay, so we talked about why it's good for parents. Now, why would it be good to have parental leave for businesses? From a business point of view, how can businesses benefit from parental leave?
So I think if we look at the micro level, which is the employee, we talked about it at the beginning, saying that it probably increases motivation, job satisfaction, because the employee knows that the company is taking care of the employee, and that the company cares. The company is valuing the employee as a resource, as an asset, and not considering just only as a tissue that the company can throw away when they, And the company is also valuing the family and the human relationship between individuals. So at the micro level, I think it is helpful. Now, the employee also knows that he has probably some time and he can rest during this time or recover and doesn't have to worry about the income, because the income will be here if we make the assumption that 100% of the compensation is provided. One of the arguments against it, maybe I'm going too fast, but one of the arguments is, if the person leaves, that it can affect negatively, the career of the employee. That is possible. If the absence is there, then the employee is not here. But if it is in the culture of the company to do that, everyone is at the same level, so that doesn't affect negatively X or Z because the other person is not doing it. So I don't think it's an argument. And it should be, like now, going back to the university is something that people do even at 40, at 50. There is no, you're old, you cannot do it now, right? No, it's a kind of a back and forth movement between education, between work, and why not between also personal time when you recharge the batteries, So for the company, if we accept the monetary aspect, which is another question that we'll talk about probably after, I think it's good because employees are getting better and stronger and more motivated when they come back.
Yeah, I would just want to add that in general, people do not like to be treated as clog in the machine. And oftentimes when organizations respond to people's employees' need in such a way where they do not really grant them any rights, or they do not consider their needs, personal needs outside of the organization, then employees backlash. So I think, like in general, people expect when they go to work, they expect some level of reciprocity. So I put a lot of, I bring my motivation, I put a lot of effort in my work, my productivity is high and I do well for the organization. So I expect to get something in return. And when the organization views the employee as a whole, not just as a person who come to work and then leaves, that sends a message to the employee. And when they feel that they are important to the organization, they are going to reciprocate. They are going to put more effort. Their commitment level is going to go higher. And one more thing we have to remember is that there's a consistent decrease in inequality in our society, and we see that the C-suite, all the CEO, CFO positions, in these positions, people earn a lot of money, and there's a huge gap, pay disparity between the executive level and the employee level, and that is the type of things that make people become really frustrated. So when the organization is willing to think about the needs of the employee outside of the work and grant a longer maternity or paternity leave, that sends a message that the organization care, and maybe in some way it decreases the inequality. So I think that that's also something good that can happen as a result of that.
Okay, and Dr. Degravel, you mentioned the monetary aspect. So businesses think that this might be too expensive. Where is this money going to come from? So what are some of the negative aspects that we can see with businesses? What are they going to do in order to come up with the money to pay these parents?
Well, if we make the assumption that now the system we have in California is that 60 or 70% of the income is provided to the people who are getting this leave, that means that the difference is 40 or 30%, right? And the 70% or 60% are taken care by the society because it's through a system of refinancing of the SDI. So now this 30 or 40%, the idea from the motion that we're discussing from the two council men and women are that it's very likely that the company should pay for it. So that would be an additional expense for the company, and the argument against it is, well, we are already increasing the minimum, the amount per hour, the minimum wage. So we are adding another layer of constraints for companies. Here we are talking about figures without any real study that precisely would say how much it would cost, and we have no idea because not all employees would benefit from it. So it is probably not as much as the increase of the wage. But I don't have any figures. I cannot just say it's possible, it's not possible. I do not know that, and we need another study more in depth to explore that.
And Dr. Ronen, so you mentioned before that we don't see women as CEOs, CFOs of these companies, correct? And so we see less women as managers. Mm-hmm. So do you think that it's because they are taking too much time off, or that they're just not simply qualified?
Oh wow, that's a huge topic to talk about. But I mean, there is there are some gender differences in the occupation of the C-suite, and we know that the vast majority of males occupy these positions, especially in companies like Fortune 500 companies. However, there is a change, and if we look at the past 50 years, we see that more and more women take these positions, and they seem to do really well in these positions because, I mean, we know that on average, women are, level of empathy is higher. Women are considered to be higher on transformational leadership, which is a wonderful type of leadership style. So there's no reason to think women cannot serve as good as males in this position. So that's definitely not the reason why we don't see enough women. However, it is likely that as part of the reasons for that are associated with the fact that women have to take care of their kids. And obviously, I mean, if there's no support coming from the government or from the state, that makes it more challenging and difficult for women to do both things, take care of their kids and go to work and have a career. So I think that's exactly, a type of motions or contributions that are like one step in the right direction, because they can encourage more women to invest more time in their work after they made sure they took good care of their families during this time. And there are other types of support that families can get, and I know that our new governor, he suggests that for California, we should have a 6 months maternity leave, which is a wonderful idea, and I think that he probably understands the implications of such a ruling on women's careers, etc., and on families in general. So I think that's a great thing.
So we're talking about how he thinks that there's that importance. Do you think that our country has the right value system when it comes to deciding if work is more important or if family is more important?
So this is a capitalistic culture, right? And people are being encouraged to invest their time working and being productive, which is a wonderful thing. But we really have to remember that having a healthy family is one of the most important foundations of that people have, and we should, in my opinion, encourage families to thrive by providing families with resources, by helping mothers, fathers, kids really grow well and develop well. And I don't think the organization would really suffer from these type of things. And for example, in Google, they increased the paternity leave for their employees, and the turnover was cut in half. So I mean, that's a clear benefit for the organization, and I'm sure that the return is much higher than the investment that organizations make with this law.
Well,
Just some closing thoughts on what you have.
There is a debate about why are companies here? Are they just to serve the shareholders, the owners, to deliver return on the investment, or should they consider the larger picture and integrate all the stakeholders, that, including the employees and other stakeholders? And there is a debate that is, still, depending on your philosophical or political side, you have a different approach on this. I personally believe that an organization and companies are here to serve. There is a triple bottom line. There is the money, there is the people, and there is the environment. And I think we should use this corporate social responsibility approach, and the employees are one of the fundamental elements, because the economy at the end of the day is to serve humans, not the other way around.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you so much for taking the time to sit here and talk to us, and that's all the time that we have for today.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
With the groove, show move, keep it smooth as I bust and move. Ayo, step it swiftly, you with me, keep up. If not, just stop, hop and squat, put your feet up, read up, pay attention, listen to the melody. Remember what you heard, got my words to the spell of me. Top notch, got them all jumping like hopscotch, or jumping rope like double dutch in the air. Show me what you got, keep it hot like the heater. You thinking you a treat, cause you're sweet, but I'm sweeter. Leader of the pack, cause they all stay behind me. I'm old school, you don't skip tracks, you rewind me. Find me, working on my craft.
Me and my boy Matt had it good. He had catnip that was off the hook. But one day, he brings a girl home, and she's allergic to cats. Every sneeze was a nail in my coffin. Now I'm in a shelter. It's decent, but they don't even have Wi-Fi.
Hey there, Mrs. Carter. You can earn over 10% on your money if you deposit your savings into our investment
lucky
program.
sweepstakes winner.
Mrs.
Just
Carter,
enter your
Grandma,
contact
enter your
information
checking
and
account
your
information.
winnings will
Grandma,
be
it's
mailed
me.
to
Please
you.
help me. I'm stuck in Ohio and my wallet was stolen. Please send me some money so I can get home.
Millions of people, especially seniors, are targeted every day by an array of fraudulent scams through online technology. Please be aware.
Thank you for watching On Point. You can follow us on social media at CSUN On Point. You can hear us at KCSN 88.5 FM on Sunday mornings at 5:30. You can watch us on Santa Clarita Valley Television on Sundays at 5 and on LA 36 at 8 o'clock on Thursday evenings. For all of us here at On Point, I'm Monica Campos.